kind of see, as I said in the thing, you need a formidable competitor to get, I'll tell you, when we went public in 2004. That's the reason why I moved to Mumbai, because I used to joke at that point in time, because Ramdurai called me on a day and he said, you come there because we are going to meet Ishaq Hussain. So we went there. Ishaq Hussain was the finance director of the group. And then, so I was told that you are now switching functions. You are going to be the CFO, and you are supposed to play a leading role in terms of taking TCS public. What we didn't realize at that time, and this was of course a very major thing as far as the Tata Group is concerned, was that Infosys was turning out to be a much more formidable competitor than we had imagined, because we were not public, so we were not in the scrutiny, and we would always have our own internal reasons which we would start talking to people. But now we were in the public scrutiny, and suddenly we found that we were not that much bigger than Infosys. We were actually at one point in time, their net profit turned out in quarter turned out to be higher than TCS, and Chandra, who's the Tata Group chairman, Ramdurai, and myself, we would have arguments as to, and I think that shattered our defensive position. I mean, three of us, even now when we get together and we don't have anything, and we talk about those tension-filled days between 2005 and 2007, when we would go ahead and do that. And then you set up a lot of internal goals. Even after we had conclusively proved that we can grow at a faster rate than Infosys, it was still, their margins were better, and people would say that. And I remember that both Chandra and I went to the board of TCS at one point in time, and we said that our margins are 23%, their margins were 29%. They don't operate in some of the areas that we do. So if I were to compare, it should be 27, because we would continue to operate in India, which they were not operating in India, and so on. And we will, in a matter of about 6 quarters, we will bridge that gap. I don't think any of us, Ram, Chandra, or me, knew the difficult journey that we would have to undertake in order to meet that, because it was very difficult. And therefore, and at that point in time, we exceeded by 10 basis points over that. We went up. And of course, today's margins are much higher, from a competitive point of view and so on. So what I'm saying is this, that it's not only having a phenomenal competitor, but also an internal drive and aggression within the organization. And more importantly, the internal cohesiveness of the internal leadership team that we had. In fact, Chandra was here about 2 weeks back. Ramdurai's book, TCS Story and Beyond, the Tamil version has come out. So he was releasing it in Kalakshetra just about 2 weeks back. And he was talking about the same thing. What set TCS apart? Because he was releasing TCS Story, Tamil version. And that was that the leadership team was like a family. We were essentially working together, but very aggressive family. And this is the same situation in Infosys, whether it is Narayan Murthy, Nandan, and Chris, Shibu. Very, very, aggressive kind of, Mohan, of course, very aggressive kind of team and so on. I think that internal cohesion, but with aggressiveness, which essentially says that I'm not going to do that. And I think that has got institutionalized in some of these companies, even when we have change of leaders. For instance, in Infosys, Salil Parekh has come. I think he's doing a great job in terms of, although he's not from the founding family. Rajesh is doing a phenomenal job, because when I go to TCS, I don't recognize the TCS of today from what I found and so on. So every company is in this field, but I think that is because of the competitive situation. That's a long answer to a very short question.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. Yeah. If the questions start getting longer than the answer, I think the audience would appreciate it. Yeah. So I have a question from one of our IT entrepreneurs member, Vinod Subaya, and he's asking a question which is, I know, very difficult to answer, and I would love to hear your answer for that. So he says, as you know, employee attrition is a huge challenge in the current IT market. Someone once told me that there are three key factors for employee motivation: excellent pay package, excellent scope for career growth, and excellent treatment by management. While this may be true for most other industries, the average employee tenure in IT industry is about 3 years. Do you have any tips or tricks to retaining good employees for the long term and bringing down attrition? Any silver
I
bullets?
think, if I tell people that 42 years I worked in TCS, they laugh at me, it's that this fading phenomenon, vanishing phenomenon kind of thing. I think, attrition is something that we have got to accept and so on. I'll just go back to Mr. Kohli, and because he used to tell us that how do you mentor people? How do you? I mean, his argument was that you don't get that individual to meet your objective. You have to get you have to meet his objective or her objective. What are their career goals? How do you help them setting up the career goals and so on? And if you do that, you are quite likely that that person is going to continue with you and so on. I think that has been the main reason that we've still had people coming in there. But the current situation is very different at this. I don't think, that kind of loyalty that, see, the thing is, in TCS and in other companies as well, we used to have extensive interaction with people at one, this thing. I still remember one, we had a phenomenal colleague, K. Padmanabhan, one of the topmost technology experts anywhere in the world, you can say. And we used to have a kind of a project review, and we used to have 3 or 4 people together reviewing. And once a person came along and they were presenting the project, they were going to a penalty situation. There was nothing that we could do. And Paddy, as we used to call him, as we call him. So Paddy said, come to me office after this, and I'm going to understand what the technology issues that you're facing at that time. Actually, we earned bonus on that project as a result of it. This is the result of interaction that really takes place. And people form loyalty to the group that they are working with and so on. And now that interaction is, probably because of size or whatever it is, the thing. And the second factor is the pandemic. I think that has disrupted the whole issue in terms of creating this kind of, cohesiveness and so on. And I don't think that is going to lead to a lot of loyalty being with the company. Because if you're not going to make me comfortable by working at, asking me to continue to work at home, I'm going to leave you and I'm going to go to the next person because I can always work from home. And I don't think that kind of thing generates loyalty.
We recently discovered that people are holding more than one job.
Yeah.
Working from home, right?
Yeah,
So they're working for 2 employers because a day has 24 hours. So Mr. Venkatakrishnan asked this question. See, Chennai is being labeled as a fintech / deep tech startup ecosystem. Is that a positive or a negative, being slaughtered like that? And also a follow-up to that from him is, we talked about Bangalore, Gurgaon, and even Hyderabad seem to be more favored destinations for investors, venture firms, private equity guys. When they travel to India, they go to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Bombay, and out. And Chennai is not on their map. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would dispute that Chennai not being on the map. One, because I think there is enough attractiveness as far as Chennai is concerned. But anyway, the general point is valid in the sense that there are other centers which are very attractive, and certainly Bangalore is. If you are an e-commerce person, in fact, one of the biggest issues that we have at this time is that if you want truly skilled people in newer areas of technology and so on, I don't think you are finding enough of them in Chennai. You have got to go to Bangalore, and that drives people to Bangalore because for whatever reason, nerds seem to go to Bangalore, and nerds may not be a Kannadiga, but he goes to Bangalore, and that's where he's available, he or she is available at this point in time. That's the kind of situation. There is there's a whole body of research and knowledge that is going into why Bangalore is more attractive and so on. But to come to the first point, is it good to be labeled as something? I think it is, it is good to be labeled because, for instance, we call Chennai now as the SaaS capital of India. That is purely because of these two companies, Zoho and Freshdesk, who have really come in here and who have created this phenomenal kind of name recognition. And I think that is doing a lot of good as far as Chennai is concerned. Fintech, I think this is a natural place because I don't think any other place in India has this capability, and you have got to do that. So once you develop that, and at the same time not forget the entrepreneurial ecosystem that one has to develop, I think we should be all right.
Thank you, Ma. Murugavel Selvan, another IT entrepreneur in the club, is asking, given the upskilling needs of our graduates, be it technology or soft skills, why don't we see the likes of Baiju or Unacademy type of online app solutions, private players emerge yet specific to the IT industry? This seems to be left primarily to the larger companies having their own L&D training departments or more formal courses online from academic type institutions.
No, I don't think it is the larger companies having these and so on. Baiju has created a revolution. I mean, there is no doubt about it. An academy, another revolution, and so on. These people have managed to, there are two things that have really worked for them. One, of course, is their idea, which is an interesting one, and they are willing to expand that idea, whether through mergers, acquisitions, all kinds of things that are going in and so on. There are many people who are skeptical, but they have made it a success, and you've got to accept that as a thing. The second one is the ability to interest private equity players. Be able to, this thing, as a CFO, I find it very difficult to understand that capital becomes revenue in the eyes of many of these people and so on. So fundamental problem that we have, but capital is revenue as far as they are concerned, and therefore they are progressing quite well. I think, I would turn this into a different one in terms of how many unicorns get produced, because ultimately Baiju, many others are unicorns, and we have to create more unicorns as far as, and which is